and they talking about building the third temple. They're building Satan's temple.
When the final stone of the third temple is laid, the heavens will grow silent for a moment, as if all of creation holds its breath. The world will stand in awe. Leaders will proclaim a new era of peace, and pilgrims will flood Jerusalem, believing prophecy fulfilled and the age of God's favor returned. But beneath the golden gleam of the restored sanctuary, something ancient stirs, a war not of nations, but of kingdoms. The Antichrist will stand within its courts, seated where only God should reign and declare himself divine. The sacrifices of the righteous will cease, and idolatry will rise in the heart of the holy. Across the world, believers will awaken in terror and wonder as prophecy ignites before their eyes. For the third temple was always destined to be both a promise and a test, a stage upon which truth and deception would stand face to face. Lightning will flash from east to west, the skies will darken, and the nations will rage against the truth they can no longer deny. Yet even as chaos reigns, the faithful will remember the words of the prophets, that the false one's dominion is short, his reign of lies destined to crumble beneath the feet of the returning king. When the armies of the earth gather around Jerusalem, when the nations surround the city believing they fight for peace, the heavens will open. And there he will be, no longer the suffering servant, but the roaring lion of Judah, eyes like fire, wearing many crowns. The earth will tremble, mountains will split, and the temple, that fragile symbol of man's ambition, will fall before the presence of true glory. For the Lord himself will dwell once more among his people, not in a temple made by human hands, but in a kingdom that cannot be shaken. The third temple will have done its work. It will have revealed every heart, tested every faith, and summoned the king back to his throne. And when he reigns, there will be no more division, no more deceit, no more need for sacrifice, for the Lamb himself will be the light of Jerusalem. And as the nations bow, prophecy will whisper its final truth, that all along, the third temple was never about bricks and gold, but about the battle for worship, the struggle for who sits upon the throne of the human heart. In that day, heaven and earth will become one. The veil will be torn forever, and the King of Kings will reign, not above the nations, but among them in glory that no man, no empire, and no temple could ever contain. From the dust of Jerusalem's ancient stones, a question rises that shakes the foundations of faith and politics alike. What happens when the third temple is rebuilt? To the unknowing, it's just a structure, another monument in the holy city. But to those who read prophecy, it is the trigger of destiny, the countdown to the end of the age. The first temple, built by Solomon, was the glory of Israel. Gold and cedar, fire and sacrifice, the dwelling place of God himself. But pride and idolatry brought Babylon's fire, and the holy walls fell. The second temple rose centuries later, standing through Roman occupation, and into its courts walked Jesus of Nazareth, the promised Messiah, who wept over its stones, saying, "Not one shall be left upon another," and so it was. Rome came, and the temple fell again, its ashes scattered into history. For nearly 2,000 years, the Jewish people dreamed, prayed and wept for its return, facing east every day, whispering, "Next year in Jerusalem." Yet prophecy declared that before the end, a third temple would rise upon that very mount, a house of prayer for all nations, and yet the place where deception itself would stand. Now in our time, the ancient yearning of a people meets the global stage of prophecy. Red heifers have been born in Israel, priestly garments woven, vessels of worship prepared, blueprints drawn. The Temple Institute waits ready. Yet above the mount stands the Dome of the Rock, sacred to Islam, guarded fiercely, and the world knows one spark, one act, could ignite a war that engulfs the Middle East and fulfills prophecy overnight. What few understand is that the third temple is not just about religion, it's about control, covenant, and cosmic order. For the temple was always a meeting place between heaven and earth, a divine embassy on soil claimed by men. And prophecy whispers that when it returns, so too will the final test of mankind, the unveiling of the one who will sit in that temple and declare himself to be God. The temple is more than stone. It is the stage for the ultimate deception and the ultimate redemption. Every nation's eye is turning toward Jerusalem again, not for peace, but for prophecy. And in the silence of that tension, one truth remains unshaken. The story that began on Mount Moriah with Abraham, with sacrifice, with covenant, is nearing its final chapter, and the temple will stand once more, not as a monument to man's faith, but as a mirror revealing the hearts of all nations before the coming of the King. In the shifting sands of prophecy and politics, the world edges toward a convergence unseen since the dawn of Israel's covenant. For centuries, theologians have debated what the Third Temple's rise would mean, but the scriptures leave little room for comfort. It will mark the beginning of the greatest deception mankind has ever known. The Apostle Paul wrote of a man of sin, the lawless one, who will sit in the temple of God and proclaim himself divine. Daniel saw him as a cunning ruler who will confirm a covenant for 7 years, only to desecrate the holy place midway through. Jesus himself warned that when you see the abomination of desolation standing in the holy place, those who understand must flee. For generations, these words were symbols, theories, distant warnings. But now, in our time, the shadows are forming into shape. A world fractured by war and famine cries out for peace, for a leader, for unity, and prophecy says such a man will come. He will not rise as a tyrant at first, but as a savior, a peacemaker who will solve what generations of politicians could not: the Middle East crisis, the status of Jerusalem, the rebuilding of the temple. He will forge a covenant that dazzles the nations, uniting Jews, Muslims, and Christians in a moment of global hope. But beneath his smile lies the same rebellion that began in Eden, the hunger to be as God. When the temple stands again, the world will call it a miracle, a sign of divine favor, and yet heaven will mourn. But within those holy courts will soon stand the greatest impostor ever known, the Antichrist, clothed in light, yet filled with darkness, offering peace, but demanding worship. And as the sacrifices return, as priests walk the courts of the new temple, the stage will be set. The convergence will be complete. Religion, politics, and prophecy intertwined, preparing the world for deception so perfect that even the elect could be deceived. But even in this darkness, a remnant will understand. They will remember the warnings of the prophets, the words of Jesus, and the voice of the Spirit calling, "Come out of her, my people." For prophecy does not end in despair. It unfolds toward revelation. The temple that man builds for pride, God will reclaim for glory, and the deception that begins there will only hasten the return of the true King.
The third temple was finished in heaven when Christ ascended to the Father.
That's right.
The third temple is finished, folks. It's what Christ accomplished when he went to the heavenly throne and shed his blood on the heavenly tables as a sacrifice. And he says, "In my house is many mansions." That's what he's bringing back here. You waiting for somebody to build a third temple here? The third temple has been built already. It's coming. And this is what Esau is afraid of and is ready to fight against.
That's right.
Huh? We're putting it together. Time is running out, folks. So we're putting it all together for you right now to understand what we're up against. Elder lawyer, if you will. 1 second. Let's get Ezekiel 35. Now, where do we come in at with them just rolling out tanks against some people? Don't forget, that's a big showing, folks. To roll up on our people as if we're in Afghanistan or something and we're just outside playing. I need y'all to examine the optics of that. So it must be something deeper than what they're showing on the surface, folks, concerning our people. Because, I mean, how can we rival tanks? See, but we have the moral high ground. They can't show the optics before the world that they're using tanks against their own people. Right? They can't do it. Or America being the moral example to bring freedom to the world will be dashed to pieces before the eyes of the world. So they have to do it a different way. They must cause a provocation to justify it. See? And what I'm praying is the message get out there. Eventually, they're going to get the provocation that they want. Now, what they're seeking to do more so than anything, they want that provocation against those who know they're Israelites. That's what they want. So that they can label Israelites the new, you got it, religious extremist, the new ISIS, the new Hamas. I'm telling you right now, and that's why I told people, folks, I've been saying this for over a decade, 15 years, that Israelites need to change what they're doing. That being an Israelite doesn't define you. Christ is who defines us.
That's right.
They're going to use your antics, your need to be seen, your provocations, and they're going to use that as justification to kill innocent people that you claim you're here to help. All to be seen and recognized.
Right.
That's what they're looking for. That's why you have this little minion running around trying to get photo ops and opportunity, trying to start arguments with Israelites. This little satanic Jesuit minion. Because they know they've been studying and they know the attention-seeking people out there, or those who haven't got much recognition. That's why they go to these little guys, only one or two guys on the corner. Because they know that some of them want the recognition of others who have did the work before them. And they only need one provocation to justify what they would like to do. Right? You have to understand their mind, what's in their mind. And the Bible illustrates Esau's mind. And it tells you in the book of Obadiah, eventually they're going to lose all the land, the ill-gotten land that they have actually stolen. When it says there shall not be one left, one of the mount of Esau, it's talking about territory, land that they have stolen, that will be given back to Jacob. Elder Lawyer, let's go to Ezekiel 35. Let me grab it.
Yes, sir. The book.
Ezekiel 35. Moreover.
Ezekiel 35, verse 1. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, and prophesy against it.
And prophesy against it. Mount Seir is where Esau went to against his father and mother in defiance of who? The God of Israel, and joined alliances with Satan. Out of them came the dukes. Out of the dukes came Amalek, who was attacking the women and elderly and children in the back of the caravan when we were coming out of Egypt. Cowards. And Zepho. Zepho, in of itself, would become who? The one who goes into Greece, become European, and become king over Italy as the first pope and king. That's the papacy you see over there today. It have nothing to do with Christ. The religion they had was Zepho set up what? He set up the new Babylonian religion that Nimrod had, but switched it. Now it was no more the black Madonna of Semiramis and the black child of Nimrod. They switched it. And they started making white images of the same deities, the gods and goddesses of Babylon. See? So they would have to get the people under the religion of Babylon and the governmental construct, which is a priesthood in of itself. Because then you can convince the people through education and teach them against the God of all gods. It's one big religion, the world governments. Mount Seir. So this is how Esau became European. He went into Europe under Zepho. On top of that, he's buried till this day in Ayia Napa, Cyprus.
We copy it down, Eagle.
And I'm not saying this because I've just read it. I know where it was. It also tell you Zepho in the book of Jasher where he went and became king. That's your papal church. Hence the reason why you see the Babylonian what? Crown or mitre of Dagon on the head of your pope. He's a Babylonian priest. So when Esau became the new King Nimrod, he took that religion over to the Vatican and began to spread it throughout the earth to unite the whole earth together, nations together under that same religion that would oppose God's people at the very end. And that's what we're looking at with immigration. That's what we're seeing with the tanks. Because Esau could hide himself up until the time the Most High would begin to awaken his little brother, Jacob. Son of man, set thy face against Seir and prophesy against it. Read. Your volume, lawyer.
Yes, sir. Salakia, verse 3. And say unto it, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate.
I will make thee desolate. That means they're going to lose a land that they've stolen. They will lose it. Read.
I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord.
And now the Most High is going to tell them why a judgment is coming on them. Read.
5. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, and the time that their iniquity had an end.
At the time of our iniquity had an end, which means The Most High already gave us over to be destroyed for the sins of our forefathers. And you're still trying to press and destroy us, a destroyed people already. So what you're doing by coming against the people who have been defeated already is you're going to cause the heavens to react, and that's what's going on. The heavens must come to save us, must come and help us, because now Esau's together in their secret meeting saying, Jacob have never been as weak as they are right now. If it's any time to destroy them, now is the time. And our God is saying, you know what? No. Wake up more of them. Because the more that they awake, we get closer to the number, and there's more angels that can come in and camp round about to save the remnant. That's the realm war that they're not talking about. So one of the greatest satanic tools they're using is the internet and the machine to push more sin, more debauchery, more evil, and making it more accessible.
Imagine every human on Earth connected. In thought. In feeling.
Yeah, that's me.
In real time.
She's here. Can you see her? Beatrice Murray.
Welcome to the feed, where our shared experience
It's just an enhancement.
Show me.
is now a reality.
Something's wrong. I feel off.
They think her feed did something to her brain.
The world needs this technology. Millions are in danger.
The feed is causing erratic, violent behavior.
Every system is susceptible to viruses.
Everything is under control.
What made you do that?
I don't know.
Your safety is of the utmost importance to us. Importance to us.
They're coming.
Importance to us. Importance to us.
In the wrong hands, it could tear us apart.
So to stop the bleeding that they're seeing is the fact that our people are coming back to the Almighty. So they must pump more sin into our community. Fentanyl, drugs, make hookah, confusion. Make an app where what? Where harlotry and prostitution is legal. Because they're losing. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by force of the sword in the time of their calamity, and a time their iniquity had an end. You would think that they would back up off us, folks.
Donald Trump is trying to
No.
some presidential
Esau smells blood.
are defiant. A red alert for the country.
Let's roll out the tanks. We need to cut down some of this crime and roll out some beautiful tanks.
Are, quote, enemies.
See how they doing it?
All of this comes
Read.
just months after
6.
Donald
Verse
Trump
6.
deployed troops to Los
Therefore,
Angeles.
as I live, saith the Lord God, I will prepare unto thee blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Sith thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee.
The Most High says the more blood that they plan against us, the more will fall on them and their children. See, when they set up Planned Parenthood, the eugenics program, that's garbage they're teaching about evolution, the survival of the fittest, and that the white people have a higher IQ. You don't have a destroyed earth where you're poisoning the people, then claim to have a higher IQ running a failed world.
Hundreds of years ago, people became
Okay, we're looking right through it.
They squandered Earth's natural resources. And
A high IQ don't set up eugenics to point and think that you're just going to kill God's people and not realize that the ideology would affect your own people. When now you thought it was about keeping down the population of Jacob against the growth of your children being the minority. Now your women are killing their babies. See how it works? Now there's no justification of killing a baby, but if you are the minority in hopes of Jacob rising and overpopulating you, even though we are more in number, think about the ill effects. Even though you're having less abortions, look at the ill effects it's having on your own birth numbers. See that? We can pop out children like nothing. So what they'll do, they'll get their crazy nurses from other countries and all that. That's why we have to watch our women who saying, oh, there's some high mortality of women dying. We need to start looking into whether or not they're dying or there's some assistance in this. Because they understand Israel will always have babies. And speaking of that, look at this here. The Most High said what? Because their blood, touch of blood, is going to come on their own head. Everything you do against our people, you reap what you sow. And now your children are buying into the death you engineered for the children of God. So when they went into Canaan, what did they learn? I got a journal here, very good read. Canaanite child sacrifice, abortion, and the Bible. Folks, aborting children is an old Moloch sacrificial ritual that Esau picked up. He just cleaned it up and engineered it to be accepted in our society. When he went into Canaan, Mount Seir, Satan required him that if he get his hands on Jacob, to get rid of as many of Jacob as they could. Because we threaten not just Esau's rulership, but Satan's time to rule on this earth.
Across Iran, vast state-organized rallies filled streets and main squares as millions of people turned out to celebrate the 47th anniversary of the 1979 Islamic Revolution, waving flags, chanting slogans, and taking part in carefully choreographed displays of loyalty to the ruling system. At one such official gathering in Tehran, footage shared on IRGC-linked platforms showed crowds torching what organizers described as a symbol of the devil, presenting the dramatic burning as a central, made-for-camera moment in the capital's anniversary spectacle. The effigy itself was labeled Baal and crafted as a horned, demonic-looking figure, prominently emblazoned with a Star of David and other motifs, visually fusing the image of an ancient idol with overt references to Israel and contemporary enemies. Pro-government outlets and commentators framed Baal as a symbol of supposed Western Satanism, elite decadence, and even child sacrifice cults, using the burning statue to claim that today's global power structures are morally rotten in ways that echo dark rituals from antiquity. Images and clips of the ball effigy going up in flames quickly dominated coverage of the anniversary online and abroad, becoming the standout visual from this year's events and overshadowing the more familiar scenes of marches, speeches, and flag burnings. Supporters praised the spectacle as a powerful act of moral resistance that exposed evil systems they believe control the West, while critics condemned it as dangerously incendiary propaganda that demonizes Jews and fuels conspiracy-laden hatred under religious veneer. On social media, users rapidly tied the ball burning to the newly released Jeffrey Epstein files, circulating claims about an account or references linked to Ball and spinning these details into wider narratives that merge alleged elite abuse networks with occult worship and demonic symbolism. Recent Epstein files from the US Justice Department mention the name Ball in a bank document. Online users on X claimed Epstein had an account called Ball, linking it to dark rituals and child sacrifice. Fact-checkers said it was likely a misread line. The form probably said bank name. The real account was under the company One Clear Lake Center LLC. Conspiracy posts still tied the Ball mention to stories of ritual abuse in Epstein's inner circle. In the Bible, Ball was a fertility god linked to sensual and child sacrifice rites. Emails also revealed Epstein received kiswa cloth pieces, sacred fabric from Islam's Kaaba shrine. With American warships and the USS Abraham Lincoln Strike Group operating nearby, Iran turned its revolution anniversary rallies into a stage to warn foreign adversaries, pairing patriotic imagery with stark threats aimed at Washington and Tel Aviv. Crowds repeatedly chanted against what they called decades of US crimes and Israeli atrocities, invoking sanctions, assassinations, and the Gaza wars as proof that Iran must stand firm against Western pressure. State-organized marches saturated the air with the familiar slogans "Death to America" and "Death to Israel," which loudspeakers, clerics, and TV presenters all amplified as tensions over nuclear talks and possible strikes climbed. Demonstrators burned Israeli and American flags laid across roads, while nearby authorities displayed 5 mock coffins draped in US flags, turning the streets into a visual tableau of defiance directed at Washington and its allies. The coffins carried printed names and photos of senior US commanders, including CENTCOM Chief Brad Cooper and Army Chief of Staff Randy George, implicitly casting them as potential targets if conflict breaks out. Iranian officials hailed the huge crowds as proof that, despite sanctions, protests, and war fears, the country remains firmly anchored in the revolutionary legacy of 1979, using the mobilization to counter narratives of a regime weakened by internal dissent.
So when it talks about the Nazis and all that, don't even deal with it from the perspective that Esau is showing you through time and modern day history. The real Nazi program and all that comes from ancient Babylon, ancient Mesopotamia, Canaan, where they would engineer the science to kill off God's people at the very end. A very good read. A very good read when I looked at this, because it gives us insight so that we're not ignorant to what's really going on. But now, by Esau rolling out abortion, guess what? Now his women are aborting their own children. Why? Because we're the trendsetters, and guess what? Everything we do, the men, your young boys and your young girls follow trend. So now Esau realized every trap that he set, he began to set it for his own people, right? And that's Bible prophecy.
It's a sin before God.
Why?
Wow.
Everything you set up, you set up an abortion clinic, yes, it's going to hurt our people. But guess who else going to be going in there, sneaking in there?
Well, that's what you do to babies, huh?
Yeah, I love it.
After probably sleeping with an Israelite man.
Oh, I'd never go to Christ.
I hope that you come to Christ.
No, I don't.
So Esau realized all the traps that he's doing.
I do have a heart.
He's hurting himself.
You have a dark
So now he's seeking what?
You will stand before God.
A physical engagement.
Every day.
You will stand before God.
He's like, listen, let's stop playing behind the curtain anymore. We're losing fighting Jacob this way.
Keep tearing the babies
I
apart.
will.
We're losing.
Keep tearing the babies apart.
It's time to roll out the tapes. See? Jacob has wised up. And what is that wisdom? He found out we were his brother Esau. See? You can't camouflage yourself. under different cultures anymore, any races of people anymore. And we know your true objective based on what our God has shown concerning you from the beginning. See? So our power, how do we gain power? Spiritually. To be on the right side of this war. This spiritual war. See? We must walk away from all mainstream religion. We must throw away any idols in our homes. We must throw them away. We cannot worship on any of the holy days they have set up in the world. A lot of you might think that it's small what I'm saying. No, it all goes back to ancient Babylon. How Nimrod was able to separate the people from their what? Their simple abodes, their simple living, and to guide them into worshiping the fallen. And by doing so, their children began to work for the dark side instead of the God of Noah.
Put the tinsel on the tree, because Christmas is coming, my dear.
Let me show y'all something.
There's not one God, there are millions. Here's a little thoroughfare. In the holy city of Varanasi, I'm meeting historian Binda Paranjape.
Fair use.
To find out how Hindus see their gods.
Fair use.
At every corner of the lane, and just to see anywhere, and you see a shrine. And
y'all see this? Y'all see this? In the book of Jasher, when Nimrod went to fight against the Tower of Babel, it says he turned their leaders who led them into this against God, this battle, into the shapes of elephants and monkeys.
Listen, you got to understand that the devil is really good at what he does. He's good at deceiving people. He's good at reeling people in. He's been doing it since Adam and Eve. And so, you know, one of the biggest things he uses is the music industry, right? It appeals to you with the beats and the lyrics, and you see that they slip, you know, demonic things into the music videos. You got people talking about selling their soul, okay, and a lot of their lyrics. And then you have things like this where, oh man, look, it's cool, they're balancing. I can balance like that. Let me try to hit the algorithm, not knowing that they're doing, you know, Hindu and yoga and religious poses that have, you know, ritualistic meanings. And we know that anything that is rooted outside of Christ, right, to invoke any kind of, you know, opening or awakening or line up your chakras, all that stuff is demonic, and it's a counterfeit of what the Holy Spirit does for you. So be careful. You know, you think, oh, I'm just doing something, I'm just trying this challenge, even if you do it to a Christian song. No, this is exactly what the devil does, and he tries to get you to think, oh, it's no big deal, it's just entertainment, you're just doing a pose. False.
Okay, that was right after the flood, the Tower of Babel, during the time of Abraham. And what did the East Indians do? They turned that curse of what happened against them into gods and goddesses who were against the Most High in the beginning. These were their leaders who did what? Who planned to go back out into space to fight against God back then. So I'm doing this because you're going to see a lot of Asians amongst you, and you're going to think they're just worshiping just any religion. Their religion is the first religion that fought against God under Nimrod which are Hindus. This is Esau bringing in old gods, old goddesses as reinforcements against our people.
Shrines, and no corner they can leave without having a god there. So like we have got this small little shrine here, and it has got that elephant-headed god. That
Elephant god. Now someone says, who into who? Hey, we can show you. We can show you. Elder Lloyd, let's get that out of the book of Jasher real quick. Who into who? Look at this right here. At the Tower of Babel. We were in the book of Jasher. Let's read it. In the book of Jasher, we hear when Nimrod went against the Most High in Jasher 9. Elder Lloyd, let's go down to about, what, the 27th verse?
We can probably go down to about 32.
32. Let's read it.
The book of Jasher, chapter 9, verse 32. And God said to the 70 angels who stood foremost before him, who were near to him, saying, Come, let us descend and confuse their tongues, that one man shall not understand the language of his neighbor. And they did so unto them.
It was 70 angels that came down to split the nations into 70 different divisions after what? The Tower of Babel. And once the divide happened, they all took the religion they learned at the Tower of Babel back to their respective areas in a different language. See? So when they claim all people are worshiping the same God with a different language, they're correct. But the God they're worshiping is Satan. Okay? 33.
Yes, sir. Verse 33. And from that following day, they forgot each man his neighbor's tongue, and they could not understand to speak in one tongue. And when the builder took from the hands of his neighbor lime or stone, which he did not order, the builder would cast it away and throw it upon his neighbor that he would die. And they did so many days, and they killed many of them in this manner. And the Lord smote three divisions, or the three divisions that were there, and he punished them according to their works and designs. Those who said, We will ascend to heaven and serve our gods, became like apes and elephants.
Became like apes and what, Elder?
Elephants.
And elephants. Let's show you.
Leave without having a god there.
See their gods.
At every corner of the lane, and just you see anywhere and you see a shrine.
Elephants. Now you see why Jasher is so important? You don't know what these people are worshiping in the God. These were the curses that came on their people during the time of the Tower of Babel, that they began to worship in India and different places as the new gods and goddesses.
And no corner they can leave without having a god there.
Apes. Y'all see it? Curses from the Tower of Babel. You see this? These are the people they're bringing over. The original people that was at the Tower of Babel fighting against our God. So what do you think they're going to do against you? You going to them to get help. You're telling them, oh, you're my new nurse. You're my new doctor. You're my new pharmacist.
That makes them the #1 ethnic group among immigrant doctors in America. But how? Back in the 1960s, the U.S. healthcare faced a crisis. They didn't have enough doctors. There were around 300,000 physicians for the whole country, which meant only one doctor.
Now, Elder Lawyer, if you will.
In 1965, the Immigration and Nationality Act allowed skilled immigrants.
Let's show you how they switched the religion from ancient Babylon using the same characters. By the time Christ came on the scene, Esau turned that old religion into what? The new religion of Rome. But at this time now, they're using white faces. The same Virgin Mother, the same Semiramis, the same ancient Babylonian days, but they started switching it up during the time of the disciples. Right? And we're putting it together for y'all folks so that you can understand the battle you're in. You can sit around and think this is small if you want. Folks, you look around and you see these East Indians, Asians, and all these are coming around, and they mean business. Don't even look to the Christian church to try to navigate us through this and have us understand what this war is. They've been totally infiltrated by Esau. Right? Acts 19, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. Acts 19.
And let's go straight to 24. During the time
yes, sir. Acts.
During the time of Paul. A matter of fact, start at 21.
Yes, sir. Acts 19 and 21. After these things were ended, Paul purposed in the Spirit when he had passed through Macedonia and Achaia to go to Jerusalem, saying, after I've been there, I must also see Rome. So he sent into Macedonia 2 of them that ministered unto him, Timotheus and Erastus. But he himself stayed in Asia for a season. And the same time there arose no small stir about that way. For a certain man named Demetrius, a silversmith, which made silver shrines for Diana, brought no small gain unto the craftsmen.
Unto the craftsmen. So now, by the time the Romans came on the scene, Semiramis is being worshipped as Diana, which is no different than the Madonnas you see at the parades amongst the Catholics, amongst the 10 tribes in South America and all of this. The worship of the goddess in Santa Maria. It's the Virgin Mother Semiramis. Esau started switching up the names when he gained power. Same religion, just using different names. Read on.
25. Whom when he called together with the workmen of like occupation and said, Sirs, ye know that how by this craft we have our wealth. Moreover, ye see and hear that not alone at Ephesus, but almost all throughout all Asia, this Paul had persuaded and turned away much people, saying that they be no gods which are made with hands.
So Paul, right after Christ's time, when he was called as an apostle, began to call people out of this false religion, which began in ancient Babylon. The Virgin Madonna with child has nothing to do with Christ, has nothing to do with Mary. She was called Sybil at one time. Sybil links to the rock we see in Mecca today. It was the Romans who had the Kaaba stone first. So Islam is a modern day Arabic Catholic church worshiping the same deity, Semiramis, the goddess from ancient Babylon. Isis and Horus under the Egyptians, it's the same goddess. Semiramis, the mother of Nimrod, who brought forth a child by the name of Tammuz. You have to let go the virgin birth. It didn't happen like that. The virgin birth goes back to the deities. The hat of Dagon, which is a Babylonian headpiece, worshiping the Black Madonna, not Christ and Mary, Nimrod and Semiramis, then later Tammuz. Esau is the new Nimrod. Let's read it.
Yes, sir. 27. So that not only this our craft is in danger to be set at naught, but also that the temple of the great goddess Diana should be despised, and her magnificence should be destroyed, whom all Asia and the world worshipeth.
So they tried to shut Paul down because the merchant said what? If you continue to teach this and our people no longer reverence these gods and goddesses, we're going to lose our livelihood. Our livelihood is attached to keeping the worships of Babylon continuing. That's why I don't buy no stinking African artifacts, because it's the same god and goddesses. They try to make you think it's a black thing, and this is what the culture of our forefathers, when it all goes back to the Tower of Babel. Nix all of the African artifacts, take that ox and shove it. Okay? They're all the same gods and goddesses that have led us here in captivity, following what? The religions that came from ancient Babylon. Esau just switched them up a little bit. So he don't mind if you go to the conscious community, because he know the gods you worship there, you might as well stay in the Catholic Church. You might as well stay in Islam, because they're the same gods and goddesses. And it make no difference whether or not what you're worshiping is black or white. That's ridiculous. Nimrod was black. His mother was black. So to say that we're going to do this in Africa because black people was doing this is stupid. It's the spirit of servitude that falls on men and women who serve lesser gods that leads to captivity. So they'll let you worship a black face. Who you think incentivized the black conscious community, folks? They'd rather you do that than find out you're Israel. So now the merchants are saying to Paul, man, you got to shut down, Paul, because if you keep teaching, our livelihood is in danger. All of Asia would worship these gods and goddesses, folks. And that's what we're witnessing right now.
So like we have got this small little shrine here, and it has got that elephant-headed god, Ganesha.
Ganesha.
Yeah. It's a god, removes the obstacles.
Removes obstacles.
Yeah.
Look at this. And these are the people they're paying for reinforcements to come against our people at the very end, folks. You don't even understand what we're up against. This is more dangerous than the tanks we see Donald Trump rolling out. Because if you lose the spiritual battle, it won't be too long before you lose the battle altogether. So they say, listen, Paul, you getting in the way of our urn. And see, this is why the conscious community. I'm going to bring, even though they're low-hanging fruit, really. But this is why the conscious community don't like us pulling out the Bible. Because it takes away from their hustle. Same thing what we're showing you here.
Hold on, can't see the rest of the sentence. Too much fucking.
Now they can't peddle their little gods and goddesses and their debates and no, we don't want to hear that junk. You are Satanist.
It's that time of the year again. I want to talk to these brothers right here. It's always like a conflicting sort of perspective on these holidays that we're about to be approaching toward the end of the year. Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas, where a lot of quote-unquote conscious people feel as though they're European holidays, pagan holidays, and we don't need to celebrate them. Then a lot of cultists feel as though Halloween is an important day. It's a day of celebration. I believe Azariah said it was Ancestors' Day at one time. Am I right? It was a celebration of our ancestors. A lot of other people feel as though it's just some satanic devil shit. They see the white folks got a hold of it, and they don't want no part of it. Just dealing with the dark side, the occult realm, the metaphysical realm, the unseen realm, that of which we all come from. I want to get your perspective on this this holiday that we're about to embark on in a couple of days, Halloween. Could you, in the dark side, could you expand on that for me, please?
Thank you, Brother Rich. Excellent question. To be honest with you, I was planning on taking advantage of this date, this Halloween, this coming up, to actually do a lecture entitled Welcome to the Dark Side, you know what I'm saying, where we were going to reveal some of the information that we've been gathering, dealing with the power of the dark side, the pros and the cons of the dark side, the power of tapping into the dark side, and not only the power of tapping into the dark side, we were going to show and prove numerous examples of groups of people who are utilizing dark force energy to navigate through this reality that we call life. Now, as a result of, a lot of new information coming on board, we're not going to do it on Hallows Eve. We're going to actually do something with our brother Obar and let him set the stage and the foundation and whatnot to speak about some of the African traditional systems. Now, when we talk about Pan-Africans and what they've been saying about European holidays, in the study of Pan-Africanism, we tend to find African traditional systems or African traditional religions. And inside of those African traditional religions, I don't see too many Pan-Africans that embrace that and come forth and say, look, these are the dark arts. This is what it had done for your ancestors. This is what it's doing for the people now, because you can't speak about Palo Mayombe, Lukumi, Santeria, and all of those things and not talk about the different groups that are benefiting off of utilizing it right now. Everybody always points to the Haitian Revolution, and that's great. But what about the revolutions that are taking place right now? What about the Cuban Revolution? What about the revolution that are taking place with these quote-unquote magical systems that exist in all places where Roman Catholicism exists, that go into war against Roman Catholicism with the dark arts? Okay, the consistent battles that are taking place in Jamaica, Haiti, Cuba, Brazil, all of these Afro-Latin, Afro-Cuban places, Mexico, Black Amigos. Like, what about the fact that these underworld groups, these underworld movements are banging on the beast on a level that none of you could fathom, that are romanticizing Africa, romanticizing Africa? You Pan-Africans that don't know Nan-Africans, 1/16 is down the block, and they don't know none of you out there. You're non-existent. There's Africans up and down the strip. They don't even, none of them. Bottom line, I'm keeping it a.
So we're not going to give you a dry penny. Read 28, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir, 28. And when they heard these sayings, they were full of wrath and cried out, saying, Great is Diana of the Ephesians. And the whole city was filled with confusion, and having caught Gaius and Aristarchus, men of Macedonia, Paul's companions in travel, they rushed with one accord into the theater. And when Paul would have entered unto the people, the disciples suffered him not. And certain of the chiefs of Asia, which were his friends, sent unto him, desiring him that he would not adventure himself into the theater. Some therefore cried one thing, some cried another, for the assembly was confused, and the more part knew not wherefore they were come together. And they drew Alexander out of the multitude, the Jews putting him forward.
When it says the Jews, it's talking about our people here. Judah, Benjamin, Levi. It's not talking about those who's practicing Judaism. So get that out of your mind. When it says Jews here, not talking about the people you see today with the black hats on. Read.
It says the Jews putting him forward, and Alexander beckoned with the hand and would have made his defense unto the people. But when they knew that he was a Jew, all with one voice about the space of 2 hours cried, Great is Diana of the Ephesians.
Great is Diana of the Ephesus. Now, by the time, for those who missed it, by the time Christ came on the scene, the disciples came on the scene, Esau, being the new Nimrod, have switched the color of who? Of the goddess, the Virgin Mother. Now it's being worshipped all over the place in Asia and all of that, which by default is giving Esau what? The dominion or moral authority over all religions for nations who worship idols. If you worship idols, Esau has control over you. He don't care if it's a black one. See? 35. Your mic.
Yes, sir. And when the town clerk had appeased the people, he said, Ye men of Ephesus, what man is there that knoweth not how that the city of the Ephesians is a worshiper of the great goddess Diana, and of the image that fell down from Jupiter?
And the image that fell down from Jupiter, folks, that's the Kaaba stone. That's the Kaaba stone in Mecca right now. They lied and claimed that it had something to do with Abraham and Adam. No. The image that fell down from Jupiter, it was talking about the stone. And they put a square curtain around it as a cube. The cube represents Saturn or Satan.
Enter. This is the atmosphere at the entrance of the Kaaba. The doors of the Kaaba are opened only twice a year, and only individuals granted permission by the Saudi king are allowed to enter. This is what the interior of the Kaaba looks like. Inside the Kaaba, prayers can be performed facing any direction. The door is opened for the cleaning ritual, and the responsibility of opening it lies with the Bani Shaiba family, who have held the key to the Kaaba for generations.
So the Arabs are still worshiping, you got it, the same gods and goddesses that began at the Tower of Babel. So this is why they had a problem with Paul and the disciples, because Paul was exposing them. And as long as the merchants sold the idols, the government would make sure that they were what? Highly rewarded for keeping the people in darkness. See? Why you think when it comes to these festivals and all this, you see in New York, a Doom Day in Philadelphia. Why did the government, these nonprofits pay for all these festivals? Like what we see right here. Let me show it to you. Folks, this is highly spiritual. See that? So you don't even know that it's written of in the Bible. All these festivals and all that is to keep the people worshiping the child in Madonna, so you're under the mindset of the tower. And by doing so, Esau, by proxy, with his rabbis and Jesuits, have control over you and your families. High witchcraft they are a part of. Let's finish this up, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. Verse number 36. Seeing then that these cannot be spoken against, ye ought to be quiet, and to do nothing rashly. For ye have brought hither these men, which are neither robbers of churches, nor yet blasphemers of your goddess. Wherefore, if Demetrius and the craftsmen which are with him have a matter against any man, the law is open, and there are deputies. Let them and plead one another.
Read.
But if you inquire anything concerning other matters, it shall be determined in a lawful assembly. For we are in danger to be called in question for this day's uproar, there being no cause whereby we may give an account of this concourse. And when he had thus spoken, he dismissed the assembly.
And when he had thus spoken, he dismissed the assembly. Don't forget, Paul was just teaching what we were teaching. And the government, the whole city, the whole community came up in a roar. Why? Because, I'm going to tell you, it was disconnecting them from their psychosis, from the control that the government have over idolaters. The spiritual control they have over you. How can Satan get servants unless the people voluntarily serve him, like at the Tower of Babel? How can he build his construct into the heavens if the people don't what? Ascribe to his religion and science to help him. So the first thing is to walk away from all the idols, all the holy days they set up, because the rabbis over in Israel, they control the spirit of all the pastors under modern day pagan Christianity. And they're doing this through a secret religion that they were doing in Rome. The cult of the soul Invictus. The cult of the soul Invictus. Okay? The cult is upheld throughout all governments and kept in place through the secret army of the Vatican, who are called the Jesuits. The Jesuits were the original CIA. They're not just military, government clandestine. They're in everything. They control the doctrines of the modern day Christian churches. They're in Zionism. They're Satanist, the Jesuits. Led by who? Led by, and we're bringing it up, Esau this current day. These are Edomites now. The Bible says that man of sin would be revealed. This demon here, Jesuit General Ignatius Loyola, Satanist. He would be considered today a white Jew. And this demon next to him, Jesuit Francisco Ribera, they would shape the modern day doctrine, the theology that would lead to the majority of Christians voluntarily, to convince Christians to voluntarily worship Satan without knowing it. And this is the lie, the new doctrine that would justify what they're teaching in modern day evangelicals today. The evangelicals are Jesuits. They had this particular book that they put together called the Sacrum Bedi Ionis Apostoli Evangeliste Apocalypsum Commentaries. So these are the lies that they put together in the late 1500s that still stand in the false doctrine we see today under modern day Christian theology. They wanted to convince the future Christians to believe these 7 points. 1, that the Antichrist is one man opposed to a government structure. They came up with that concept. Why? Because King James, who was a black man, was showing forth that the papacy, the Vatican seat, is the Antichrist seat. It's not one man. It's the whole government structure from Babylon. And King James, who so happened to have been a black man, was exposing them. See that? In this book right here, he's exposing them. King James VI and the First in the reunion of Christendom. We were the original Protestants. We were against the Catholic Church then, and the children of Israel, Judah, and that's right, King James was a Judite from the bloodline of Christ. A black man exposed them back then. That's number one. They made a book and say, listen, we got to teach in our theologian schools and make future Christians believe our theology concerning Christ is coming. Because instead of them looking for Christ according to prophecy, they'll look for Christ according to our theology that will misdirect them. Right? So it'll have everybody out there looking for one man as an antichrist. When it's a government structure, folks, a Babylonian structure that Esau has upheld. The whole construct is a part of the religion. Number two, these devils. The Antichrist will build a temple in Jerusalem. So we're going to tell Christians in the future that Christ is not going to return until they see a third temple built in Jerusalem.
And of course,
and that's more proof Christians don't read the Bible. The temple was built when Christ went into the heavens. That's the temple that's coming here. That's the third temple, folks. So they're going to put out a few circulations and through media and through their satanic Christian programs. Oh, here they come. They will build the temple in Jerusalem. They are all Jesuits behind that crap.
Trump himself. Thank you.
Okay. All Jesuits.
Dear friends,
they make you think you should be worried, and they misinterpret Thessalonians to back the lie. There's no third temple. Number three, in this commentary, these Jesuits have made a whole narrative for an antichrist that don't exist. Everybody's looking on the outside for one man.
Personal memories.
And common sense will tell you, if this man will one day be over the government, it's the government.
The greatest moments we have known on this city on a hill. In Jerusalem,
I need y'all to think about this.
Jerusalem, Abram
how do he become to do all these things if he's not over the government?
And the right to be the
but they're having you looking for a future antichrist, so that you don't start looking at these shady characters that are doing things now.
Jerusalem, King Solomon built our temple, built our temple, built our temple.
The Antichrist will abolish Christianity and make a covenant with the Jews. Folks, Christianity was abolished or wiped out when we lost Jerusalem.
Rededicated that temple.
And I'm talking about from a broad sense. When we lost Jerusalem and they infiltrated and made Christianity pagan. It wasn't until we began to awaken again in the last days that the true Christianity came back to the earth. I need y'all to think about that for a minute. How can you have Christianity when the true Christians who taught everybody are in darkness and had no idea that they were the people? Then they said the Antichrist will call himself God. Ridiculous. This is what Christians are waiting for. Something that came out of the mind of these two demons here. The Antichrist will not be revealed until 7 years before Christ returns. Now, how ridiculous is that? Now, before 7 years, that means the Antichrist revealed, and we know exactly when we can look at our watch and say, okay, 7 years from now, Christ is going to return. They came up with the whole theory and lies of dispensationalism, Antichrist, tribulation period. It all came from these demons. That's why Christians don't even know exactly what signs to look for concerning the Christ they claim to believe in. When you should have just read Matthew 24. And it's none of this crap you're reading here. The Antichrist will conquer the world. Esau already rules the world. The Christians or the church will be raptured into heaven before the Antichrist appears. How many of you know that this all came from these demons right here, these Jesuits? Everything Christians are looking for came from these satanic Jesuits. And what did these Jesuits believe? Going back to Nimrod and Semiramis. What did these particular Satanists believe? Well, looky what I have here. The Secret History of the Jesuits. The Secret History of the Jesuits. And guess what? It was actually written by a Jesuit, folks. Looky here. Page 86 of the book. It says, these few quotations tell us enough about the principal aim of these educators. Let us see now how they form these elite Christians and what kind of mysticism is inserted or inoculated, infiltrated, or pumped into children submitted to their educational system. At the front, it is characteristic of this order, we find the Virgin Mary. It have nothing to do with Christ, folks. It have everything to do with the Madonna. The Madonna. The Madonna. Are y'all following me here? The Madonna. Let me get it here. There go the book. The Secret History of the Jesuits. It have everything to do with the Madonna. It have nothing to do with Christ, folks. It's Semiramis, the mother of Nimrod. But they call it the Virgin Mary. Loyola, that demon, had made the virgin the most important thing in his life. The worship of Mary was the base of his religious devotions and was handed down by him to his order. I gotta blow this up. To his order. There's an order of the Jesuits. Well, they'll say it's Mary, but it's really worshiping Nimrod's mother.
Virgin Mary draw millions of faithful each year. The Vatican has been tasked to.
The worship developed so much that it was often said, now the Jewish people worship her too, under the Shekinah.
Investigated half a dozen miracles.
See? So they'll tell you that, oh, we're not down with Christianity when they're pagans too. The brand of the Vatican and the Jewish state of Israel worship the same religion, and they're both operating with the orders of the Jesuits. The worship developed so much that it was often said, and with good reason, that it was the Jesuits' real religion.
It's the work of the unholy.
This was not written by a Protestant, but J. Huber, professor of Catholic theology. It's the Catholics spilling the beans.
Offer your
Loyola himself was convinced that the Virgin had inspired him when he had drawn up his exercises. A Jesuit had a vision of Mary covering the society with her mantle as a sign of her special protection. And look at this. Who came up with the Immaculate Conception, folks? Duns Scott doctrine was enthusiastically adopted by the Order of the Jesuits, which was successful in having it made into a dogma by Pius IX in 1854. Erasmus satirically depicted the worship of Mary of his time. During the 4th century, the tale of Loretto's house had been invented. This house had apparently been brought from Palestine by angels. The Jesuits welcomed and defended this legend. Canisius went as far as producing letters from Mary herself. And thanks to the order, great wealth started to pour in at Loretto. Let me get here, over here. The Jesuits brought forth all kinds of relics, like you've seen that Paul was against, of the Mother God, the Mother of God. When they made their entrance into the Church of St. Michael at Munich, they offered to the veneration of the faithful pieces of Mary's veil several tufts of their head and pieces of their combs. They instituted a special cult. Hold on, let me go here. A special what? Let me get it here. A special cult. They want to say, you finding out your Israel is the cult. But folks, finding out that you are worshiping Christianity, Christianity was the cult given to us by the Jesuits.
Yeah. Spit this thing. Hey, John McCall, Shaddai War. Yes, sir. All praise to the Most High. Yes, sir. Look.
We set the trends, bro. Ain't raising no feminine men, no. Ain't no pretend, dissimulation, no. And we gon' lay our life down for our friend. No credit, no friend. Let's ain't so fake by the they working, they gonna endure to the end. No, somebody you're feeling, get out your feeling and go settle it for the day end. Bro, ain't nothing sweet. My father's accustomed with fire, he bringing that heat. My wife, she cover up her body, cause she don't belong to these streets. My people ain't watching the signs of the time, they don't even much watch what they eat. Miss me with McDonald's and that Burger King, cause that ain't even much no real meat. They say they got grace, the law done away. I'm looking like, are you sure? She broke a crawfish and then sucked out the brains. I'm looking at her like, ugh. They killing people with a cure, devil with a double dose. They said I don't take it, I'm losing my job. I hit them with a adios. Chillin' and poke, lobster obnoxious, don't touch it, cause this is disgusting. For sake of discussion, won't even discuss it. They judicial systems got Judas as judging. True biblical Jews of the covenant, according to Putin discovery. And yeah, I love it, but we knew that before they knew they was Russians. And before Edomites had stole this country, they jealous, cause we set the trends on the block, holler repeat. Children of the covenant, stacking these spiritual ends and say every nigga on the bend, confessing his name and amen. We fly enough from a man, we win in the end, and this is the end. They hating cause we set the trends on the block, holler repeat. Children of the covenant, stacking these spiritual ends and say every nigga on the bend, confessing his name and amen. We fly enough from a man, we win in the end, and this is the end. They hating cause
I'm all on the board like I'm playing Monopoly. House in heaven, I'm owning the property. Green card, so I go where I gotta be. Communities in my chest where my heart to be. Travel the world for a higher. If I should see North Carolina, I move it commonly. We'll go to jail for this. I'm a prisoner. Kingdom my cell and Yeshaya's petitioner. Rap for my dogs, you can call me the whisperer. Pick up my cup when they fill it with vinegar. Living waters in my members, I'm glistening. Wicked teachers in our schools conditioning. God's kids to a path that's sickening. We set the trends and they do the mimicking. We be the light and they enter whispering. In the dark rosa parts, we tell them part. And get off the bus if you ain't got no heart. Like 10 man, we the metal and false. So witches and warlocks. We the halt of vision and captain by keeping the law. Now they marvel at the way that we walk and how we talk. Wanna copy how we look, but they dress be looking soft. I'ma love them anyway, cause Yeshaya is who we saw to be. And when they hate, I remember they a part of me. I seek to be the one who would change the league. I never follow any trends, I was born to lead. And now I'm free, I'm planting only righteous seeds to watch them grow inside the youth who will soon to be. The kings and queens who never got a vaccine only know about the God and choose to proceed. To go against the machine and feed the God gene. The things that need to endure through his routines, cause
we set the trends on the block, holler repeat. Children of the covenant, stacking these spiritual ends and say every nigga on the bend, confessing his name and amen. We fly enough from a man, we win in the end, and this is the end. They hating cause we set the trends on the block, holler repeat. Children of the covenant, stacking these spiritual ends and say every nigga on the bend, confessing his name and amen. We fly enough from a man, we